So, all right, guys, back to basics, and I appreciate you guys jumping in. Apologies for not being here last week. We did a little bit of I guess you would call it a daycation. So, took the family out to Holiday World up in Santa Claus, Indiana. Highly recommend it. I'm not going to get into it, but every once in a while, you got to have a little bit of fun, right? So, just to give you guys a quick heads up, as the summer months hit. The 25th, I will be out of pocket. I will be in Vancouver, Canada for the Corebridge conference trip. So you too can hit that conference trip if you hit 110,000 in production with Corebridge this year. And then you'd be on your way to Park City, Utah next year, which is they've already had it there. Beautiful location. I didn't get to go that year, but I heard great things about it. And then in July, we got the 4th of July week, so I'll be in Outer Banks. And then the week after, so the 9th, I will be, I know you're going to hate me for saying this, I'll be in Honolulu. Um, but I will be there for business, believe it or not. So for those who don't know, our team, so Valor, partners with my business partner Roderick with Alexander and Kennedy, and we do stuff for sports athletes. So we're going to Honolulu to do some of the sport side of it, working with kids, getting them protected, and then also, plan for their future. So it's a pretty cool setup. So if anyone has any kids or people that you know who are in the name, image, and likeness or NIL space, there's opportunities, even if you don't know anything about the insurance side, to make some money to introduce us for representation purposes. So a lot of good stuff from that standpoint. So that's my cheap shameless plug, but also let you guys know, come the latter part of June, middle of July, it'll get a little bit rocky from the training standpoint and everything. But let's be honest, a lot of people take off in the middle of the summer anyway, too. So, with that being said, would love to just kind of hear if anybody has anything in particular that you want to talk about, have any questions about. Once again, the idea behind this is that this is your time to come with any questions, any case design, anything, everything is on the table for you to ask questions and see what we can do to help. If not, I can give a couple quick canned things. So I'd love to open it up for anybody who has any initial questions.
Well, I have a question. So I
Yeah.
recently applied for a term to one of my friend, and then he did not know that his A1AC level is 8 until the blood results came in. So he was thinking everything is normal and so on.
Yep.
And then now we applied through Core Bridge. We were expecting a preferred or standard, but we ended up in table rating E. So what is the best option for him?
Well, that's the interesting thing about our industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen many times where I've had clients who want to buy coverage on their kid who's away at college and finds out that
Mm-hmm.
they're suddenly a smoker. Like, my kid doesn't smoke. Well, yes, they do. So in this situation, we kind of, this is going to sound stupid, but you kind of save their life, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Uncontrolled, undiagnosed diabetics is a big, big, big problem.
mhm,
So what you essentially did was uncovered an issue to help it get regulated.
mhm,
Now, that's the noble side, right? The
mhm,
premium side is like, oh crap, right? So you probably had preferred, and now
mhm,
when you think about a table E, that's a 250% markup to standard rating.
Mm-hmm.
roughly.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you probably showed like a 35-year term, right?
Now he wanted a 20-year term, so it was like for 1.5 million. Preferred was around $85, but with the table E, it comes around like $262.
So my proposal is this,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
See what a 10-year term would be
Mm-hmm.
for the same
Mm-hmm.
amount
Mm-hmm.
because nothing motivates people more than money, right?
Yeah.
So if you do a 10-year term, which is the smallest term you can do,
Mm-hmm.
retain the fact that you got coverage,
Mm-hmm.
but then also work on getting that A1C down. And if within 6 months, because an
Mm-hmm.
A1C is usually about a 3-month window on
Mm-hmm.
someone's sugar levels, we can try with another carrier like North American or someone like that,
Mm-hmm.
and might be able to land a standard on tobacco versus the table rating. But
Okay.
think in perspective here, okay? So
Mm-hmm.
pricing aside,
Mm-hmm.
the big thing you have to say to someone is how do you give someone bad news, right? Or what you
Mm.
would consider bad news.
Yeah.
Um, so it's all in how you position it. If you
Mm-hmm.
come from a place of depression, like, oh man, you got a bad rating,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to take it that way. But if I came to you and I said, hey, congratulations, we found out that you're insurable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, they did find some things in the records that would change the offer. So we have to talk about modification.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes across differently when you're talking to the client about what one could consider bad news.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, even myself, recently, I said to myself, I'm like, um, I'm in bad shape, physically, which I don't want to be, but I probably need another like $4 million of coverage, and I just don't want to pay for a table D, term policy. But
Mm-hmm.
then I say to myself, and I've said this plenty of times, is you're only as healthy as you are today. So
Mm-hmm.
could this person not get better? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
they try and then the habits just are too heavy for them and they keep going down that road and the A1C stays 8, 9, 10. Well, once you hit 10, you're uninsurable.
Mm-hmm.
So he's about 80% of the way to uninsurable,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever you want to say. So it's a big thing. Yeah, it's a lot more money, but if you can show them a lower duration of time,
Mm-hmm.
but affordability suddenly comes into play, maybe it's in the hundreds versus the 200s per month,
Mm-hmm.
and say, listen, this is the lowest term we got. What we can do is reconsider once you have a better A1C, but we want
Mm-hmm.
to at least make sure you have something versus nothing.
Yeah. That's what I had. So just we went over it. He may be trending towards like uh, we saw about like 15 years and 1 million instead of 1.5 million, slightly lowering it to 1 million. And 15
Hmm.
years, it was coming around 132 for the same table rating. He was little okay. Okay, now I have like instead of 260, I can pay 130 for the insurance, and remaining 130, I'll use it to improve my health.
That's the big thing is that we have to remember that, you know, all feelings aside, everyone always sees the numbers, but if there's a true reasoning for you to get the coverage, which there is,
Mm-hmm.
to protect your family, then it should overcome the fact that, you were planning on paying $80 ish, and now you're paying $50 more. So that's one less
Mm-hmm.
meal out with the family
Yeah.
or, per month. So you have to put it in perspective of things that they would correlate with as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
just simply saying you got to pay more. A good
Mm-hmm.
example, when people sell cash value life insurance policies and they show income.
Mm-hmm.
But if you chose not to show income and say at 65 you have 500 grand in cash, what would you do with that? You know,
Mm-hmm.
would you
Mm-hmm.
want streamlined income? Would you want to go on a fancy vacation, see the world? I hear, traveling around the world on a cruise is about $45,000 a person. Is that something that would be exciting? So
Mm-hmm.
when you envision it and when you give someone something to wrap their arms around or their hand or their head around, I should say, it helps soften the conversation a little bit because whether you're talking about paying more for coverage or if you're, paying uh, these LIRP plans and every year it's like, oh, this is my vacation fund. It helps people remember why they do certain things. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where our industry is different. There's a lot of emotion behind it. So hopefully that kind of stuff helps. But often saying stuff like, hey, congratulations, you're insurable, we got you an offer. It helps curb the conversation from, oh man, you're knocking on death's door to at least
Mm-hmm.
having a conversation around, we can get you some protection. We just have to modify some numbers and then go from there.
Phil, on that, if somebody comes back, okay, now I see the table rating. I did not know that my A1C is this high. Let me work on my health for next 6 months and then come back and then we will reapply. Right now, I will just hold on, just pass this insurance. How do you approach such person?
I can respect that,
Mm-hmm.
it is a big shock,
Mm-hmm.
but from my professional experience, most people tend to not come back because they'll either not reduce their whatever to get to
Mm-hmm.
their desired goal, or they'll forget. And the last thing I would do or want to do is have you walk away without any type of protection. I feel you owe it to your family that if within this time of healing and reconciliation for yourself to reduce your A1C, that if something happened, I would feel bad knowing that you didn't have any coverage and now you can't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had clients who have had preferred pluses in January and
Mm-hmm.
declines by June or May, because cancer pops up. So
Mm-hmm.
from that standpoint, I have personally seen things that make me recommend you should at least get something to protect your family in
Mm-hmm.
case during your time of transitioning to a better lifestyle, something happens. We want to make sure that, your family is doing okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that should help curb the conversation
Mm-hmm.
given the situation, but they shouldn't. And that's kind of like a Hail Mary because some people already have a dead set that they're not going to buy it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it should at least give some peace of mind and comfort
Mm-hmm.
for you to give them that last ditch option, last ditch effort to see if they'll take the coverage because they truly should. I mean, you would think that most people, if they're not feeling well or have some type of ailment, you'd think it would matter more to them. But yet
Mm-hmm.
people come to us when it's absolutely too late. Oh, Phil, I
Agreed.
found out I have cancer. Can I get a policy? No. Why would the carrier do that? It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to plan now for what the future holds. And a lot of people don't see the forest through the trees. They care more about, what the price is and are very sensitive with the price. But the
Mm-hmm.
fact of the matter is there's a reason why you're paying more because the company has to make sure that they cover themselves in case you have an earlier passing, which is typically the case. So, um, you can always just say, hey, I completely respect that.
Mm-hmm.
However, based on my personal and professional opinion, too many times have I seen people walk away, not change their patterns, things get worse, and then eventually you can't get any coverage at all. And I would feel bad knowing that if something happened to you during your time of getting better, that if something happened to you and use the names, so I'd say Danielle, Cameron, and Gavin
Hmm.
might have a much harder time because there was no proper placement of coverage. So that's where you humanize it,
Hmm.
fire back at the information they have about their family too, to make sure that they understand that what they're doing is a decision, a snap decision that they're coming up with based on an emotion. But remember why you do this. It's not for you, it's for
Hmm.
them. And that's the big thing.
Okay.
And that's a 50-50 shot at that point. Yes and no.
Hmm.
Some people will say yes. Some will say, no, I'm good. And then they'll move
Okay.
on. So
Okay.
it's just a toss up. But it's better than just saying, okay, I get it. Yeah, you're fat and you want to get thin. I've been saying that for about 5 years. So sometimes it doesn't get better. Sometimes it does.
Hmm.
But that's also a toss up. So to go empty-handed is not safe for the consumer as well.
True.
Does that help?
Yes, yes, Bill. Thank you.
No problem. Um, any other questions people have, or you want me to dive into something else? Jay, you had something?
Yeah. So I got a one client who already got some approval from Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
So they got a preferred there,
Mm-hmm.
like my husband. So we got 6.2 A1C. I tried to apply on North American. This time he got 6 point based on whatever the reports they have. So North American gave standard, unfortunately. Because I have seen in the same North American for a 6.2 guy, they gave preferred
Mm-hmm.
last year. So based on that, I thought North American could do better compared to AIG. So this client said, hey, I already got something preferred rating, less premium. Why do I have to pay this? So, but I'm not sure whether this Northwestern have all the living
They
benefits.
don't.
Yeah.
They have no living benefits. So what I would say is do you know the price of what he got or what he's offered?
It's around $120 per month. And with North American, we got somewhere around 160 something.
Well, yeah, they're because you're paying for the living benefits. So if you're talking to apples, if you log into 3Mark, you have the tools and resources to run the term quotes. So if we went through and we're talking just term, versus term with living benefits, let's take a look and see. We'll just say J client. Do you have his date of birth?
He's like 39 years,
Male,
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
And how long of a duration?
20 year
20 year. And how much?
for a million only.
Okay. Health class, we'll just say standard. Get quotes. So no living benefits, 9134 with a standard on tobacco. With living benefits, it's 100. So if 6.2, if he has it managed, then you can try with Corebridge and save him 25 bucks even with a standard.
Okay.
Yep. Or
So,
Symetra with a Swift term, and about 2 to 3% more for their term conversion rider. But you can beat it. Even with a standard, they do not have competitive pricing. Because remember, when it comes to underwriting, it's a marriage between pricing and underwriting offer to give you that harmonious offer that you're going to get. So the fact of the matter is that if they're going to beat you on the offer, really, can you get close enough offer where the premium should be substantiated? And I would say if you tried with Swift Term, you could probably get a non-med and see what you could get an offer for. I've had Symetra give me someone who had a 6.8 A1C, no, 7.2 A1C, preferred non-tobacco, but that was also a $10 million policy, so they could have been buying the offer. But nonetheless, you could get an offer here in, 2 to 3 days potentially, or even instantaneous. So it just depends. But, just because he's saying like, oh, it's more expensive, you're also paying for living benefits. So if you have diabetes, does it get better or worse over time? So do you think with diabetes, it has a common situation where it increases your chance for heart attack and stroke? Do you think that this, for the extra $40 a month, might be more beneficial than just dirt cheap term? Or, oh, I didn't understand, all you wanted was just term. This is term with living benefits. That's why it costs more. And you just have to play off of that. So if you are looking more for the cheapest possible thing, let me run a term company that doesn't have those living benefits. And I would go with these guys because I think they're going to give you what you're looking for.
Okay. Yep.
So now on the flip side, if you added a table B rating, which would probably be where Corebridge will land, just dirt cheap term, you're still paying $4 less per month than what you're paying with Northwestern Mutual.
Okay.
So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understood.
Yeah. So I would next time, like the other thing you could do is do one of the X-rays, go through and just fire it off to all the carriers and see tentatively where they would stand, and then run the pricing and show them, hey, with living benefits, without, tentatively, here's where we stand, and kind of decide before you throw them in. So if you told me at a 6.2, I would tell you always quote standard, because a lot of the carriers who had that, and to be quite frank, when I was with AIG, we were giving preferreds to people who had 6 or 7.0 A1Cs, but because of the relationship with the three-letter acronym company that I wholesaled to, had a lot of undiagnosed or diabetics in general, it actually flipped their algorithms to make it more serious for diabetes because they were getting a lot of bad risk on the books.
Okay.
So, if you see what I'm saying there is some carriers, even though they might have offered preferred last year, it could be a very rare situation, whereas someone different might not be in their wheelhouse. So that's what I'd say for that.
Okay.
So not to continue, beating down the point, but does that help?
Yep. Sure.
Okay, cool. Any other questions?
So I have a question about does it make sense then to start when you're quoting, start with the standard rating and then increase if the health is better?
That's a matter of preference. So, I've always been under the impression under promise and over deliver. So if I came to you, Tia, and I said, hey, here's a standard non-tobacco rate, but if you have better health, then you'll get better and cheaper pricing.
Mm-hmm.
But if so, let's kind of go back to this for an example's sake. And it's $91.34. So if I said, all right, Tia, I can give you this for 91.34 if you get a standard non-tobacco, which means you're a normal human. So Other people have a different business practice. So I'll pick on JP's alma mater. They would actually start people off showing them preferred plus.
Mm,
Yowzer, big difference, right?
right.
Because they want to get the application in. So if someone came behind me and said, Tia, I can give you the exact same thing Phil's giving you, but for half the cost. Look, it's only 44.51, and you didn't know any better, what would you do?
Mm-hmm. I would
So
go 44.51. Right.
exactly. And then once it comes back and it turns out to be $91 a month, oh, that's ridiculous. Oh, well, that what I showed you was this, but it came back with that. Congratulations, you're a normal human. Preferred Plus is like your top 10% of people, but yet people get insulted if they did Preferred versus Preferred Plus. So my old school way of thinking is you want to show them standard, but there are some people who will just get the application in because if you get the application in, um, now all of a sudden you have a better shot than I would, right? So, because you got the application in.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's a very, very weird way of doing it, but for my personal opinion, I feel that I would literally take this to someone and I would say, okay, if you're new or newer and you need like this guideline to kind of show you, say, okay, Tia, so let's just say it's for, Mr. Bryant, so to speak, right? All right, so your husband here, he can get 44.51 potentially. Okay, if we submit with American General, who usually has pretty cheap pricing, this is their best risk class possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to set the expectation and say that it could be around, where is it? Standard non-tobacco, 91.34. So you're between $92 and $45 a month.
Right.
It
Okay.
all comes down to underwriting. And we can't figure out what your offer is until we have it blessed by an underwriter to figure out what the pricing is. So
Yeah.
that way you cover yourself, right?
Got it. Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
So, um, so I see in the chat, I'm very new to life sales and I just got 3 mark today. Congratulations. Welcome to the family. And can you go back and show where you got the quotes? Missed that where you have it set up? Sure thing. So if you're here in the beginning, so you log in. Once you log in, it unlocks more options. So under the quotes tab, it would be term UL quotes. You click there and then launch now on the iPipeline one. And then it brings up this page. So does that help?
Yes, it does. What is the Winnie Flex then? Or did I say that right? Under quotes?
You're close. It's a WinFlex. So this is just for dirt cheap term.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to do actual illustrations, so you'll see that it messed up, but normally, let's try it again. Big money, no whammy. All right, there it goes. So you'll see it's single signing me into WinFlex. Now, WinFlex has been around for a long time. This is where you would do a lot of your illustrations for permanent insurance.
And
So
then with IUL as well.
IUL, yep. So for example's sake, you got Allianz, that's their IUL. You got F&G, the IUL, Hancock. You'll see it over here, the different terminology. So they do have term, like if you didn't want to run a massive spreadsheet, you want to run just one carrier, you go in here and you do it through WinFlex. And
Okay.
that's the way you do it. So um
But
any
as far as
yeah.
permitting, you can only do it per carrier, right? It won't pull up a whole list like the term one did.
Yeah, that so in this scenario, say I wanted to build something out, I would build it out accordingly with the carriers I wanted. Now this starts out very basic, so you won't see like national, well, you will see National Life. Okay, that's cool. Um, North American is in here too. Sometimes they're not in here right off the bat. So if you don't have them, but you got appointed with them, you go into your profile in the top right-hand corner and you'll see a spot. So company name should say Three Mark Financial, but then add companies. And the ones with the red arrows mean you have to put in your code, like you have to get appointed with them first. But the other carriers, like I could check Cincinnati Life. I already have Columbus, I think, but I'll check it anyway. Foresters, Mass Mutual, I could request all of these, and then I would send them off by hitting place request in the top right-hand corner. Says companies requested successfully. I think that should be green and not red, personal opinion. But but what happens now is it's sent it off to the carriers. The carriers now have the right to reject your offer or accept it. And so typically you get an email saying, yeah, you're in, or no, we're rejecting this. You're not getting our stuff. So yeah, so you can add carriers there. It usually takes about a day for them to say yay or nay. Um,
So is that basically like trying to get appointed with them?
Not appointed, but to actually get their um, get their ability to run their software. So unlike so if you don't mind me asking, is this the first part of life insurance you ever got in, or were you part of like an organization before?
I'm with Alliance with Nick and Alejandra. So
Okay.
yeah, we do health and life, and I've ridden with like Transamerica and National Life Group, but directly through the carrier. I've never been on like a, like
Yep.
this one does it all.
That's what I was going to ask. So you can run the illustrations here, but then in the actual platform itself, so you'll see you can get contracted here. So if you've already gotten some contracts through us through the system, you can then get your other contracts directly through here. So if I showed you, yeah, it's this one. So you would go to requests, create request. And there's all your carriers there. So if you guys would prefer to run NLG through this versus wherever you have it now, you can do that, but they would have to release you, or if you haven't ridden them in 6 months. But your other carriers, say Corebridge, Columbus, whoever, you get it through here. But then the cool thing is, are you in California?
Yes.
Okay. So California is an on-time appointment state. So let's say, for example's sake, I, Phil Resch, wanted to sell Lincoln today. So I would go in, I would look up Lincoln, click, request, go through the process, and submit it. Well, in the same day, because again, you're in an on-time appointment state, the only state that can become a pain in the keister per se is Pennsylvania. You have to be appointed before you can submit. So I just submitted the contracting for the carrier. Now I can go to Forms and IGO, same day, everything, hit launch Forms and IGO, and you submit the business through here, through your IGO e-app, log in, start new case, and let's just say Cali, we'll say IUL, find available products, and they're all here. So including NLG, and others. But like I said, we just got appointed with Lincoln today. Now I can go right into the Lincoln process either e-ticket or full application, and submit the business. They'll say, what's your agent code? You can either say pending, or you would put your NPN number in and you submit the business. And what 3Mark does is they take all the documentation of your paperwork for appointment, slap it with the application, and send it all together. And the carriers often like that more because every time they try and appoint someone, it costs them money. So if they know an application is coming in at the same time, that's even better for the carrier because now they know that they're getting their money's worth. They're processing an application. So a lot of times people, when they come into the fold, when they're new to working in this multi-carrier environment versus a select one or two companies, they're like, wait, I can submit business the same day. I don't have to wait for a writing code. Yes. That's one of the big perks about stuff like this is that you can have that value proposition, run several carriers if you want, figure out what works best for your client, and then, execute. So, but
Nice.
does that help?
Yes, it does a lot, actually. That you answered everything that I had in mind.
Yes.
Thank you.
Aim to please. The other thing too is, so I know, I mean, it's already 8:40, but we can always run quotes, just the cheap shameless plug for the YouTube channel. If you guys haven't seen this in the videos tab, one of the earlier ones that I did do, and it's a lot of fill here, a lot of fill. Um, how to run LERP illustrations. So multi-carrier LERP illustrations, getting started with our back office. So some of the perks of the website itself. We also have how to illustrate both income and death benefit IUL solves. So if you feel like a good nighttime listen, something to put you to sleep, we have a few of these already, and all of these videos will come up. Even the one tonight will come up on our YouTube channel for people who missed it and things like that too. So lots of good content on there to help out, especially with the illustration stuff. But um, but yeah, so that's some of the cool features there. I go online contracting to kind of circle back with some of the questions that people had in regards to underwriting. Should I talk standard? Should I talk not? If you typically have a bell cow carrier that you like, under underwriting resources here, if I go to underwriting and impaired risk, and I just click on that, the first tab here is actually the underwriting manuals. So you don't have to go to the carrier sites if you don't want to. They're all right here. So if you have something like Corbridge, I'm biased because I know it pretty well. But let's say you want to see what the financials are for insurance. So personal insurance, if they're 40 or below, 25 times the earned income is a good indicator of how much coverage you could get for someone. 41 to 50 is 20 times their income, so on and so forth. A lot of times when I do assessments with customers, I'll do 10 times their income, their mortgage, and their kiddos, going to college, which is a good, benchmark at least or something to start with. Um, but oftentimes it just depends on your customer too, if they have coverage, through work or not as well. But simple things like juvenile coverage, they'll talk about that. So if you need to understand a little bit more on where you would put someone from an underwriting risk class, I forgot that's I was going to show you this. For permanent, this is a funny one. I say funny because it was like Groundhog's Day. Every single day, a client, when I was at AIG, would get pissed off because they wanted preferred plus, but they got preferred and wanted to seek an exception. So what I would do is I would go in to look at the lab work, and someone has a HDL ratio of 4.7 or 5.0. And I always tell people, I'm like, before you go, begging for exceptions, you got to see where you're at with some of this stuff like BMI and issues like that, because that will impact your rating. And if you're trying to fire a silver bullet with the company, they're going to go back and look at their underwriting manuals and basically say, well, tough cookies. So, knowing what you're going up against is very important. Another thing that I would highly, highly, highly recommend for someone like Corbridge is Build. They go by a BMI scale. So if you are writing, say, a younger person, maybe in their 20s, and let's say they're very, very thin, notice there is a bottom as well as a top. So if you did BMI calculator, and for example's sake, the person was 5'8" and they were 110 pounds, they're below 18.5, their BMI, that's actually not good as well. They could get rated or a standard because they're not in the healthy range. So the cool thing that Corbridge has, if we go on their site, again, just saying as you're submitting someone, if you can ask the questions like height and weight, stuff like that, you can often get a better turnaround in setting the expectations for your client as opposed to just winging it and hoping for the best. So if we go to the BMI calculator here, we'll go back, we'll say a 35-year-old, 5'8", 110 pounds. So that is a standard plus 25, or a table A is an apple. It's actually substandard. So if you are running someone through non-med and you think, oh, I want to shave off a couple pounds because, I want to get the best possible rating, you could hurt them on the other side. So I've had situations where it's like, all right, well, if the client was actually 120, that's a standard with a substandard risk class as well. So let's see, 160. And now you're in the preferred plus because your BMI is at the right level. So at the lower level, I think 130 might be, yeah, preferred plus. So this person goes from a substandard risk class with 10 or 20 pounds to a preferred best. So if you have an idea of the underwriting manual of the company you like to submit most of your term business to, or permanent, or things like that, knowing the cheat codes, if you will, on how to get the best possible rating. Every time I would do an application, someone gives me their height and weight, and I think it's questionable, I always go here because let's say they were 125. See if that's okay. Oops. I think it was 120 was standard plus 15. So let's say 122. Yeah, still good there. Was it 120? Yeah. So you see the big difference between a pound. So standard plus 15, which is a substandard risk class technically, um, to 122 preferred plus. So if I didn't do my due diligence and someone said, oh, I'm 120, like, and I would just double check it because I mean, someone like myself, that's a day's worth of food right there, just 2 pounds. Not the 122 pounds, but just like maybe if I ate a lot one day, that could be a 2 pound swing on the scale, joking, of course. But nonetheless, all that stuff can matter, especially when you're trying to get someone the best underwriting offer. Going back to the original question of do I show preferred plus or should I show standard? If you know the tricks of the trade, setting the expectation anticipation could lead you to the results where you're right on point versus begging them to buy a policy kind of thing. So hopefully that helped, a little bit from that standpoint. Um, I know we had a few questions, which I'm always happy about. Anyone have any other questions in regards to some other stuff, or so far so good?
Yeah, that's good. Phil, just on the company side, do we have access to annexes?
We do and we don't. Okay, so I have them through an outside vendor, and they don't have a hierarchical structure. It's really two things. I have a total line of 8%. So the agent gets seven, and I get one, and that's it. So I only offer it to people who are really looking for, that as an option, but aren't looking at it from I want to promote it as a multi-level thing, right? So there's no hierarchical structure with it. The Nexus is very picky and they don't bend the rules for anybody. So the fact is that yeah, we have access to it if you need it, but I don't say it from a managerial standpoint, it's the best thing to do. We can do much better with other carriers. And, when I've run things through Annuity Genius, and looking at illustrations, other carriers, the national brands are very close to a Nexus. If not, sometimes they beat it too. So I would say every client's going to be different. And a lot of people nowadays are selling with the idea of, oh, you get 30% in a 10% roll up. Well, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So if you're getting that as a perk, what's the downside? Smaller withdrawal rate caps. So, like, someone might give you 8% of your benefit base, they might give you 4 or 5%, and you might actually get more with another carrier, even though the benefit base is lower. So, but yeah, we can definitely talk about that. There are a lot of carriers who tout it. I shouldn't say carriers, agencies who tout it, saying that it's, an elite thing. It's not. We easily got it. It's just from building a substantial team and conversation around, staying independent and everything else, it's just different animal. So that's why I say it's not the best product to really build around, so to speak.
Sure. Thanks, Phil.
No problem. So yeah, what I would say is if no one has any other questions, I don't want to dive into a brand new topic with little time left. So, does anyone have a easy one, or not an easy one, but just one last question in general, and then we'll wrap for the evening? Is there anything helpful as well that you guys might want to see or hear in the future? Understand that, tomorrow we have Mutual of Omaha on at 4 o'clock Central. They're going to talk to us about their portfolio suite. We're running an in case you missed it. So if you guys aren't getting the newsletters, this is let me know. But these come out every Wednesday, so it gives you what the information is tomorrow. Yep. Is it, how do you pronounce your name? I don't want to butcher it.
It's Rocio.
I thought so, but I didn't want to say it. So
Yeah,
Rocio, yes.
the one thing I would be interested in is learning about the incentive programs that these carriers have, like
Mhm.
the trips and stuff. I don't know where to find that information.
It's a great question. I like it. So, I can actually answer that right now if you'd like. The most robust incentive is going to come from Corebridge. So, it's an easy recruiting, thing as well, because I came from the wholesaling side. So I remember what AIG, formerly, Corebridge, formerly AIG, would give to general agencies to sell their product. The QOL product was the anti, they focused on rewarding the agents as opposed to the agency.
Oh,
So, in this scenario here, under the resources tab, if you have a QOL code, You can log into Connects because, again, being independent, you'll be able to log into the carrier sites as well. But under the QOL rewards, you'll see that they have these development conferences. So from January 1st to December 31st, if you hit over 110,000 in weighted target premium, you are and a guest are on your way to Deer Park City, Utah next year. I always say Deer Park City, but because it's a Hyatt Deer Valley ski resort. But they've gone there before in early 2021, 2, somewhere in there. But yeah, all the information is here, May 18th to the 20th of next year. If you're a super baller and you hit 165,000 in production in a calendar year, you're on your way for 5 days instead of three. And here's all the qualifications. The cool thing is when you look at weighted first year premium, that is different than just target premium. Target premium is the target. Weighted, you'll see the excess of target is 10%. Now, all companies are somewhere between 1 to 3% in excess above target. But for the calculation for the trip, think 1035 exchanges, all that money over, now you get 10% of it going towards your leader and development conference trip.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Then they also have, as I mentioned before, probably the most robust reward incentive for agents out in the market. So the 2025 QOL bonus is where if you sell in excess of 33,000 in a calendar year, minimum of 7 lives, individual lives, not 4 lives on one person and then 3 other people, 7 individual lives, you will start getting a 20% bonus on everything above 33,000 in net weighted first year premium.
Oh, wow.
So, yep, it is uncapped. So the more you sell, the more you make. So in this scenario, 33,000, no bonus, 60,000, 5,400 in your pocket at the end of January next year. And what you'll find is there are a lot of people who take advantage of this bonus, and you'll see even the standings from the different places. So, right now it's halfway through the year, and this person has a $51,000 bonus, not including the commissions they've been getting all year.
Jeez.
Yep. So I think I'm in here somewhere. Yeah, there I am. Good old 58. So, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. Long story short, I'm halfway to conference for next year. I haven't been to Utah in about 7 years, 6 years. So it'd be cool to go again. But yeah, so I'm about halfway there. But great incentive. The only other major carrier that I know of that has a pretty decent incentive is Columbus. And Columbus, they have their annual trip as well. Their trip is a little different, so they don't have cash prizes per se, but it's freaking Ireland. So they have their flyer, which is Ireland, their President's Club trip. It is a higher price point per se. So if you'll see here, the National Producer Conference, in order to get there, this is a President's Leadership Forum, so 450 for a producer and a guest. I think I have that right. President's Leadership Forum, yep, and then National Producer. Boston's pretty cool too. That's where my wife and I went on our honeymoon. But 450 is the number. Now, some people say, "Sweet Mother of God, that's a lot." Well, annuity premiums, 10% of their annuities count towards that. 100% of annualized first year target and 10% of excess as well. And like some people don't realize that there's a really cool thing that Columbus offers. Them in Lafayette, which is their whole life side, they offer pension plans. So pension plans, which can be high dollar, count towards this as well. So I know in California, you're required to have some form of retirement plan for business owners. So it's always a good time to do reviews on your business owners' retirement plans. So just the sales idea for those on the west side, how you can maximize this opportunity. And the cool thing about the pensions is they pay first year commission every single year. So if you have $100,000 case every single year, that is a great day for everybody. So, really cool incentives. These are two of my more favorite companies to kind of participate with. But like my children, I don't have favorites, if you will. But these guys, let's just say, are ranked in near the top two. Other than that, you don't really hear too many incentives in the industry. Um, but my wife is Irish and she really, really wants to go here. So I got a lot of work to do in the last half of the year. I'll put it that way. But hopefully that helps. Rocio, is that good?
Yeah, it does. I was just curious because I know, I also sell Colonial Life, so I know that they have their incentive, but I didn't know that life insurance companies did as well. So when I heard, I was like, oh, I'd like to talk to either Philip or Michael so they can tell me, like, from a sales point, what would be the best for me, obviously. Like,
The better one, the easier nail to hit is the core bridge. You know, this one's kind of swinging for the fences, especially halfway through the year.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so, but yeah, there's some cool incentives, and so Valor, IC Life, part of Valor, all that stuff. We're looking at doing some type of incentives with the carriers too. Columbus is a great partner. They flew myself and several agents out. We did a contest and we flew several agents out to go to a Cincinnati Reds game because they're based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah, Ohio. So we went and saw a Reds game in the box suite. The guy who basically runs both channels, John Baltimore, uh, great guy, great guy. He runs Lafayette and Columbus and others. He came with us and just made us feel welcome and at home. So very good relationship with that organization. It's a good place to be. So anyway, um, just backpedal here. If you guys aren't getting the newsletter, let me know. Tomorrow we got Mutual of Omaha coming on, and then again. For those with these basic trainings and these back to basics, when you click on it and you get the email to register, you should get an email with a little icon at the bottom to put it on your calendar. If you're not getting that, please let me know because I hate, reminding people, but as we all know, it's human nature to forget things. So you should have a link on there for Outlook, Google, and Yahoo, I think. To add it to your calendars. So hopefully that makes it easier. But appreciate you guys jumping on. Hope
Quick
you have a great
question,
rest of your
Phil.
evening. What's that?
Quick question.
Yeah, what's up?
Lost my train of thought. Okay, when we did the great collaboration and we got those links for the different softwares,
Yeah.
is that a trial period or what?
It's
Like
not a trial period
specifically
per
for
se.
lead base.
Oh, for lead base?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if did you talk to Nathan about that at all? Because he has a few different versions. So there is a free-ish version. Then there's one that you can pay for, and there's tiers. So
Okay.
if you want, I'll connect you with Nathan if you haven't talked to him yet. Or have you?
I haven't talked to him this time. I talked to him like maybe last year, but I just kind of clicked on the link and went into the thing and signed up. I hadn't put any information in there because I kind of assumed it was a trial, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
there is a free version.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I'd say is talk to Nathan. Just say Phil said to talk to you, or if you want, I can
Okay.
email. Do you have his email?
Yeah, and I think I have access to him on the community
Yep.
marketing
Yep.
page. Yeah.
Yeah. Just give him a holler and see if
Okay.
you can work something out with him.
Okay. Will do.
So awesome. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your evening, and hopefully see you tomorrow. And same bad time next weekend or next week, 8 o'clock. You guys have a great rest of your evening, and take care.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks. Bye bye.
See ya. Bye.